Well, stakeholders in the oil-rich Niger Delta region are calling on the new board to address the issue of abandoned projects. And the Rise News correspondent Ovietime George tells us more.
The demand for a substantive board of the Niger Delta Development Commission began after the departure of Obong Nsima Ekere in 2019. Ever since, there's been series of protests by the Ijaw Youth Council and its elite body, the Ijaw National Congress, over what came to stay as interim administratorship for about 4 years. Niger Delta ex-militant leaders, Government Owezide Ekpempolo, and the Sekoro One of the Niger Delta, King Ateke Tom, also expressed displeasure over the status quo, even after the submission of a forensic audit report. On Wednesday, the 4th of January, a substantive NDDC board is eventually inaugurated after 4 years of interim administratorship. King Bubaraye Dakolo is the chairman of the Bayelsa State Traditional Rulers Council.
I want to particularly thank Mr. President for yielding to the demands of the people of the Niger Delta and knowing that the Act does not allow for all the interim governance that NDDC has suffered in the last several years. But they have a lot to do. Like I said, they will attend to some of those abandoned projects, and every new project that they attend to must be completed.
Indeed, there are more concerns over the number of abandoned projects in the oil-rich region.
It's a big relief that we need to get back our development. Projects have been so abandoned. In fact, Bayelsa State is the capital of NDDC abandoned projects. We have to kickstart the project, and I'm calling on all members that have been inaugurated to see this inauguration and their office as a place where they will use to develop the Niger Delta, not for politicking.
Over 13,000 abandoned projects are littered all around the Niger Delta region. And Bayelsa State is the worst hit. Now that we have Dr. Samyong Buku, who has been in the forefront of our agitations before he got into public service, has a fair understanding of the developmental challenges in the Niger Delta region, and he will waste no time than to tackle them headlong.
Projects conceived for development and to alleviate the plight of the people of the Niger Delta now dot the landscape of the oil-rich region, abandoned, like this, to link Akenfa community to Yenagoa. And for 13 years, the people have been waiting. Now the NDDC has its job cut out for it, and one of them is the Akenfa Bridge, begging for attention. Ovietime George, Arise News.
Well, that and many more, I'm sure. Thank you so much, Ovietime, for that report. We're now being joined by two guests for more on this. Benson Enikuomehin is a lawyer and a former board member at the Niger Delta Development Commission. He joins us here in Abuja. And Professor Benjamin Okaba is the president of the Ijaw National Congress. He joins us from Bayelsa State. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being on the news tonight. Let me begin with you, Mr. Enikuomehin. Now there's a substantive board. Can the people of the Niger Delta region now celebrate? Can things move ahead?
Well, there is the principle of the law that you can only put something on something for that particular thing to stand. If you put something on nothing, the law is that that will not stand. I am surprised that the Senate went ahead to confirm the members of the governing board, looking at what the president wrote across to them. I am reading the letter written by Mr. President to the Senate, which has become a public document, which says, in accordance with the provision of Section 22A of the Niger Delta Development Commission Establishment Act, Cap N86, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004. The NDDC Act is Establishment Act of year 2000. So I do not know under what law these people were confirmed. If the president had written to them that it's year 2004 and 2004 does not exist, it means there was nothing sent to the Senate. If there was nothing sent to the Senate, there was nothing to confirm. If there was nothing to confirm, then there was nothing to inaugurate. So we are talking about illegality in the first instance. In this respect, the letter of the president is very clear. NDDC Establishment Act 2004, not 2000. So we don't know where that came from. So the board does not exist. So we cannot be talking about a board functioning when that board does not have the right to function.
Okay, so let's bring in Professor Benjamin Okaba. He's President Ijaw National Congress. Yeah, the question is, are you celebrating this inauguration of the new NDDC board, considering the fact that in 4 years, none has been in place? Now, the question of eligibility on the basis of her, that's the, Dr. Loretta Onoche, not coming from an oil-producing area. Is this a valid argument as far as you're concerned?
Okay, I think at the first place, let us be grateful to God and also thank Mr. President for listening to the cries of Niger Deltans over the several years of sole administratorship or interim administratorship, which is a flagrant disregard of the laws establishing the NDDC. Yes, it's not just about the chairman. There are so many issues in courts, but the fact that we have a clear departure from the past, where one individual for 4 years was just on taking the NDDC as if it was a private enterprise. And we were also aware of the monumental damage, including the forensic audit, that I will consider as a major joke. Yes, so in spite of these infractions, yes, people, not others, are called upon that where you don't qualify petitions here and there and all that. I think all those should not stop the NDDC from functioning. If those who took her to court, at the end of the day, they have judgment in their favor, replacements can be done administratively. We expressed the same concerns when the forensic audit became the basis for which there was no board. The Ijaw National Congress had said that, look, forensic auditing is a normal administrative process in any organization. It should not stop anybody from following. The federal government and other establishments, locally and internationally, are routinely engaged in auditing, and they don't stop government from functioning. So for us, it was a waste of time, a waste of resources, and so I think in spite of all of that, it's a good thing, because better late than never is a global saying, and in our own local parlance, we say our bread is better than none. Yes, that she did not come from an oil-producing state is a valid point. There's no doubt about it. If you have a law, then government should do the needful by obeying the rules. But if there is an infraction, it should be challenged in court, as some persons have done. And if the court rules in favor, ordinarily will have
all right, Mr.
Ordinarily will have said yes.
Mr. Enikuomehin, sorry to interrupt you. We just have to move along because of time. He seems to agree that yes, there's an infraction, but let's move things going. And I see you nodding to that. I wonder if you have anything to say that. But when it comes to the NDDC, it's a potpourri of managerial and developmental issues with that commission. A lot of people said it has failed to meet up to expectations, the reason why it was established in the first place. The people of the region remain impoverished despite the wealth they create for the country. Do you think we have our priorities right when it comes to the Niger Delta region and this commission?
You see, I am a man of procedure, and I believe very seriously that procedure should be strictly adhered to. If you do not follow the procedure, whatever you lay thereafter may not go well. For example, there is an existing court order to the effect that nothing should be done by any of the parties that were involved before the court. Yet, the government, the executive arm of government, the legislature went ahead and did contrary to what the court said. How do we rationalize that? For example, the court said that no action should be taken in respect of any matter that involves all the parties. That was the matter that was taken to court in the Shekiri case. A positive order, and that parties should get back to court on the 11th of January. If this government had not looked at it very seriously, that the bond should be consulted for almost 7 years, then why the hurry? Why the rush? I think that whatever that is being done may be done illegally, and it is not good to go ahead on illegality. I premised earlier, I said the law by which Mr. President sent to the National Assembly was an NDDC Act 2004. There is no law such as that. That is foundational.
And that could not have been a typo?
A typo?
I'm asking. I don't know.
A typo.
Do you think the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the 9th National Assembly would look at that and let that fly?
Excuse me? Are you saying that a letter written? Mr. President does not just write letter. Letters go through processes.
Exactly.
And then you are saying NDDC Act, Establishment Act 2004. And that is what you have taken to the National Assembly, upon which National Assembly has confirmed. That is ridiculous. Whoever says that is a typo, it must be a very big typo. And if it's a typo, all the things on it, all the things on that particular letter is of no moment. Going forward,
right,
I think very seriously that any government at all, be it local, national, or state, must be law-abiding. If the laws that set up NDDC have said this is the procedure to follow, take for example in Ondo State,
right,
the law says that the person who should be either a member of the board as a commissioner or as executive director or managing director, when you go by section 21A and 21B, it provides that if you are to be a commissioner on that board, you shall be an indigene of the oil producing area. So if you have an individual who is not an indigene of the oil producing area, you are violating the law.
Yeah, but would it be
Once
fair?
you are a breaker of the law.
Would it be fair, Mr. Enikuomehin, to say, is there a need to review this NDDC Act in a way that will not, cut off some, section of the society or community from, benefiting from serving the people? I mean, when you insist that because it's an oil-producing area and not, or oil-producing state and not an oil-producing area, should the people be denied the services of a person who has the skills, the wherewithal, the knowledge, and all that, to bring to bear on the lives of the people in the Niger Delta?
The entrance to a house is the door. Once you do not pass through the door, and you pass through any other entrances, if there are no hazards, you would have been a breaker of the law.
All right.
Therefore, the law provides that if you are going to be, you should be an indigene. In section 12.1, for that one is even explicit, that for a managing director or any of the two EDs to be chosen, they shall be indigenes of the oil producing area. This is very sad. In Ondo State, it is only in Ilaje, particularly a section in Igbo land, that we have oil being produced.
Right.
And you now went as far as Owo. Owo is 11 local governments apart from Ilaje, to go and choose a man who studied history to come and be the executive director project in NDDC. Is it because we are deficit of persons who can represent us? Is it because we don't have people who are knowledgeable that you will go leave the oil producing area and now you go ahead to go and choose somebody who read history to manage NDDC? And you say we should proceed. When they bring project, the people who design project, when they bring it, what will the historian be doing about that in the engine room of the NDDC?
All right, let's bring in very quickly.
These are issues that we need to address, not just, just go ahead.
And you've made that point very, very clearly. But as far as Professor Benjamin Okaba is concerned, if there are any legal issues or if it is found that there's some illegality, then it should be dealt with in the court of law. Let me ask you, Professor Okaba, if you were to set an agenda for you know, Dr. Loretta Onoche, what would it be? There's a forensic audit, of course, that you mentioned earlier. She has said she comes from, you know, an agriculturally endowed area in Delta State, and she's going to use agriculture to empower the people, especially the youth of the Niger Delta. What agenda would you like to set for her? Okay,
thank you very much. You know, you mentioned the issue of the forensic audit, and listening to the minister in his inaugural speech was talking about the new board being guided by or implementing the forensic audit. Another question to ask is, how many is the forensic audit report even public? So nobody can do any assessment of what is contained therein and what is to be implemented by anybody at this point in time. By going by setting an agenda for the new board, yes, the level of poverty in the region on a daily basis is getting more excruciating. The floods, the 2022 flood has actually shown how the level of infrastructure decadence we have in the region, and we have so many other issues. So if you say the Niger Delta is agriculturally endowed, which I know is clearly spelled out in the master plan, where a thorough study was made as to the human and natural resources that are endowments that are yet to be tapped. Yes, it could be a starting point. Yes, you cannot solve all the problems of the region at the same time, but if we can deal with the basic, which is putting food on the table of every family in the Niger Delta, if that could be the starting point, is okay. Thereafter, we should address the issues of infrastructure, road infrastructure, electricity, in fact, providing an enabling environment for even farmers, for traders, for the average Niger Deltans to leverage on and be able to address certain issues with little or no, with little support and incentive, and addressing also the question of health, because the degradation of the environment as we speak is staring us very deeply in our eyes, that on a daily basis we see people dying instrumentally. Now, the Niger Delta Board of today should look at, one, how we can mitigate issues of environmental degradation, bring into focus the questions of remediation of our environment, and at the same time provide the healthcare services for flood victims, since we're now it has become an annual issue. People, governments of the Niger Delta, with the Niger Delta Development Board, should prepare ahead so that SDP counts should be established far ahead of time, so that it is not when it is at the point of the peak of the flood that people look for settlements and what to be done.
Professor Benjamin and Mr. Enikuomehin, we have 1 minute, and I want both of you to speak I'll give you, Professor, 20 seconds to answer this. If there's one mistake the previous board of the NDDC have been making, what would that be? What should this board avoid making? 20 seconds.
I think if the over-interference of the political class is a major problem. In fact, the NDDC board should be allowed to focus on the development agenda of the Niger Delta. I know so many factors, including such that of the elections that are forthcoming just in a few weeks to go. So these are pressures on the NDDC board. So what I think is that there should be proper funding.
Okay. All right, Professor. Thank you so much. Over interference, Mr. Enikuomehin. You say that this is illegal. So what's the way forward?
Way forward, we should do the needful. Government shouldn't be ashamed to say an error was made. It's an act of manliness when you own up to the error that is made. But going by what Prof has just said, the interference from Abuja is a major setback to the NDDC. I was there and I know what we went through.
Right.
Let NDDC be. It will do well if Abuja leaves it alone.
Well, Dr. Loretta Onoche has said that much, that Nigerians should cooperate and allow them do their job. Benson Enikuomehin is a lawyer and former board member of the NDDC. And Professor Benjamin Okaba, President Ijaw National Congress. Thank you both of you for joining us on Newsnight.